6 Biblical Facts of Saint Michael. Saint Michael is an archangel, a spiritual warrior in the battle of good versus evil. He is considered a champion of justice, a healer of the sick, and the guardian of the church. In art, Saint Michael is depicted with a sword, a banner, or scales, and is often shown vanquishing Satan in the form of a dragon next to Gabriel and Satan. Michael is probably the most famous angelic being in the Bible, and since we find angels so fascinating, there's been lots and lots of talk about Michael through the centuries. He's become such a legendary character, it's often hard to discern whether what we've learned about Michael is from the Bible or elsewhere. We know that Michael is an archangel, but what does that mean? What has he accomplished? What are his responsibilities? And where does he fit into God's heavenly host? 1. Michael is the only one the Bible calls an archangel. We're told Michael's title in Jude 9. The Greek word for archangel, archangelos, means chief angel or chief messenger. The word archangel isn't used to describe him in the Old Testament, but another angel calls him one of the chief princes. Calling Michael one of the chief princes implies that Michael has peers. However, if there are any other archangels, the Bible doesn't tell us who they are. 2. Michael stands guard over Israel in Daniel's last vision. An angel describes how the last days will play out for the Jews. It is at this time that Michael, the great prince who stands guard over the sons of your people, will rise. The angel also refers to Michael as Daniel's prince. The Bible doesn't say what standing guard entails, but it's very clear that Michael has special responsibilities for Israel. 3. Michael directly opposes Satan. Jude mentions that Michael argues with Satan about the body of Moses and not to a Jewish tradition. Unfortunately, we're not given any more information on what that argument was about. Jude does tell us that Michael wasn't so bold as to pronounce a railing judgment. The Greek word for railing is often translated blasphemous or defaming against the devil. What he does say is interesting enough to merit a fact to itself. 4. Michael only says for words in the Bible well. 3. Greek words that are often translated into 4 English words in Jude 9. Michael says to Satan, "The Lord rebuke you." 5. Michael is a military commander of some angels. In John's Apocalypse, he sees a great war in heaven. Michael and his angels versus the dragon Satan and his angels. The devil and his forces are too weak to remain in heaven, however, and so they are all thrown down to earth. 6. Michael battles the patron angels of other nations. In Daniel chapter 10, the prophet fasts, humbling himself before God and praying for understanding regarding the Jews' future. An angel finally appears to him 21 days later and explains the delay. The prince of Persia had been opposing him the whole time, and it wasn't until Michael relieved the angel that he could continue his trip to Daniel. The angel stays with Daniel long enough to give an outline of future events for the Jews, but must return to fighting. The prince of Persia and the prince of Greece will soon join the fight too. Only Michael supports this angel against these forces. As it turns out, the Bible doesn't say very much about Michael the archangel. Most of what we've heard is probably derived from extra-biblical sources. That might frustrate our curiosity then again. God didn't have to reveal anything about Michael, the existence of archangels, etc. But God has graciously given us a glimpse at behind-the-scenes actions and personalities in the spiritual realm. Still, angels are fascinating, and the mystery of Michael the archangel will probably give my imagination a lot of exercise for years to come. Therefore, they must sometimes take human form, but that form might not be obvious. A host of angels greeted shepherds watching their flocks on the night of Christ's birth. Their form was obvious and glorious at other times. Angels blend in with the crowd. The Archangel Michael will play a significant part in end-time events. Michael, the great prince, the protector of your people, shall arise. Michael is not merely one of the angels, but the head of a battalion of angels, though not their ultimate leader. That would be God. Christ's apostles would have understood the military hierarchy, exemplified by the Roman system, where Caesar was in command, and the Senate operated as an advisory body to Rome's magistrates. Top military officials were drawn from the Senate, consisting of Roman citizens. In other words, an angelic hierarchy would have made sense to listeners during the time of Christ, which is why artists have often depicted Michael as a warrior. Here is an example by Raphael. Michael is portrayed as the great captain of angels and the warrior helping the children of Israel. He was recognized as the helper of the church's armies against the heathen and against the attack as of the devil, and numerous representations of Michael in art reflect his character as a warrior. A controversial theory suggests that Michael was the pre-incarnate Christ. He is given the title of prince and shown to be a protector of the people of Israel. Yet the one who protects Israel is God himself, says Don Stewart. My help comes from the Lord. Many people argue that if God protects Israel and Michael protects Israel, they must be one and the same. Moreover, when Christ returns, he will come with the voice or cry of command of the archangel. But as Stewart points out, Michael is the chief prince of angels. Jesus is never given the title chief prince among his many names, which include King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Michael is like the Legatus Augusti Properator, who commanded an entire province. He is one of several commanders in the angelic army. He is not unique. Jesus is the one and only Son of God. As one with the Father, Christ can rebuke the devil also. The real power is Christ's authority to forgive sins, demonstrated by his sacrifice, by submission to Roman punishment, and his victory over death. Angels accomplish what humans imagine Christ would do: defeat armies, while only Christ could surpass the limits of human imagination and desire, by accomplishing victory over what matters most, separation from God because of our sin. There really are angels. Scripture points to their existence too often to deny that God made them, and they serve a purpose in God's kingdom. Angels are mighty ones who work for God. Psalm 103:20, using his authority and the power he gave them to fight Satan. We see that in the verses cited above. Wayne Grudem tells us that angels deliver messages, carry out some of God's judgments, act as an example to us in their worship of and obedience to God, and patrol the earth as God's representatives. They act on behalf of God's people as per God's command. This should create a sense of wonder that there are angels around us doing God's will, invisible to humans, Elisha and his servant were surrounded by the force of Syria, and Elisha's servant was terrified. Do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. To Kings 6:16, Elisha could see what was invisible to most people: God's forces at work on behalf of his people. Angels are at work around us, and it is tempting to become more enthralled with these beautiful, mighty creatures than with the Son of God. Even as he fights Satan during the end times, however, the Archangel Michael will not be as powerful as the Messiah. We see Michael as a sword-carrying warrior against demons, but the blade we are most concerned with as Christians is the sword of the Word, an essential piece of the full armor of God.